Good day, brothers and sisters. This is Anthony Moore for Your Money More from the Freedmen Descendants of Chicago, formerly known as ADOS Chicago. And today we are going to talk about something that's very important, very critical, that impacts the American public as a whole. It definitely impacts black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slavery. In other words, black people who have descended from freedmen. But it's something that's detrimental to the American public as a whole. And by design, it is something that the American public has been fostered to not utilize and possess, even though it's critical for us to utilize and possess in order to have a functioning democracy, in order to not have a civil war, in order to actually have widespread prosperity and challenge the elites, the powers that be, which is sucking up all the wealth to the detriment of the American public as a whole. And this thing, which we are about to discuss because it's critical, but severely lacking by design, by engineering, as I said, from the people on high, that thing is called nuance. And no, nuance is not the name of Beyonce's next child. At least not as far as I know. I mean, you never know with these celebrities because a lot of them be on crazy stuff. And that's why they are not to be modeled or followed after. We're going to get to that more specifically later on. But a lot of these celebrities be on crazy stuff, be on stupid stuff, silly stuff. I mean, a lot of these celebrities be on stuff that's crazier than what it would be for a happily married man to tell his wife he's not able to make it to dinner because he already got plans with his girlfriend and for his wife to be cool with it. And maybe it's because I'm old fashioned, but I consider that crazy. But then again, maybe the fact that the man got it that way is why he's a happily married man. That's why you got to have nuance. Because judging it from my old perspective, my old fashioned perspective, I might see it one way from the outside looking in when it's a whole different scenario. That's why you got to have and apply nuance. And that's one of the things that's definitely doing us as black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves in, especially with our elders, the lack of nuance when it comes to voting these same politicians in office again and again and again and again to our detriment, to their benefit, but to our detriment. And so we got to have and we have to apply the thing called nuance. But it's something, the lack of this nuance, which, like I said, has been fostered and is very deliberate and is very intentional. The lack of nuance, a society, a country, and to a broader extent, a world that lacks nuance, which is increasingly becoming our world, that's a scary world, as you can see, if you're paying attention. That world is scarier than the world on the television show The Walking Dead, which is about the zombie apocalypse, because at least on the television show The Walking Dead, you can tell who the brain dead zombies are just by looking at them. At least on the television show The Walking Dead, you can tell who the brain dead people are, who when you first see them, you need to shoot them in the head right away, no questions asked, upon first sight. It'd be nice to have that luxury in this world sometimes. And I'm not advocating violence, but wouldn't it be great if we can always tell the things and the people and the information that's not in our best interest, the information, the people, the things that are deceitful. And we talking about these trusted figures, these politicians, the aforementioned celebrities, newscasters, the newspaper. Wouldn't it be great if we can always tell what's not accurate, what's not in our best interest, even when it comes from sources of information that we trust? But you can't do it without the thing called nuance. And unfortunately, one of the things that make the state of what we are in, as I referenced before, in terms of this lack of nuance, so detrimental, is that most people don't even realize that they are lacking it because we haven't been cultivated to use it in the first damn place. And that's very deliberate, very intentional. And as I said, a world, as you can see, a country, a society without nuance is very scary. It's very dangerous. It's hard to have a functioning democracy, as you can see here in the United States of America, without the thing called nuance. Because the thing is, in order to survive and thrive, you have to see things in a nuanced way. That means critical thinking. That means getting things, especially now, because right now, here in the United States of America, in the 21st century, not only are we a very propagandized society, because let's talk about this thing called American exceptionalism. Now, I might get more in depth about the very concept and the origins and the notion of American exceptionalism in another video, but I will say this: what American exceptionalism has metamorphosed into in modern day here in this 21st century. Today, right now, in modern day, 21st century America, American exceptionalism means you have the right to be exceptionally uninformed. American exceptionalism means you have the right to be exceptionally misinformed. American exceptionalism means you have the right to be exceptionally stupid. But the thing is, but without even knowing it or realizing it. Because the whole concept of American exceptionalism is like basically, like, I don't got to do no work. I ain't got to do no research. I can just take in these sources of information and I can just take them at face value. But you can't do that no matter where you're getting the information from, because look at it. Let's break this down. Let's analyze this thing. We here in the United States of America are a heavily propagandized society. And what makes it all the more dangerous is that we get different forms of propaganda. We in different bubbles, different silos. So different people getting different information. So you got certain people that we living in different realities based on getting different information. And that is by design. So in a time where we are facing all these important issues, all these important matters for the very sustainability of our democracy, we are lacking that very thing that we need, which is nuance, and that we need here in the existence of America for more than we ever have. Because nuance means getting things from different sources of information. Nuance means getting things from opposing sources of information. Nuance means, hey, I'm going to check out this information, even though I know that they off they rocker and they on some wild crazy stuff. It's probably a good idea for me to check this out, because it's people that actually believe that this is true. And so if I ever meet one of these people, maybe we can reach some common ground if I have an understanding of what information they are taking in. Nuance means that, hey, a lot of the information, because like I said, we're getting information from different silos, whether it's CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, the nightly news, your daily news, your local news. It's hard to because no one source is necessarily given the whole truth, if any truth. A lot of times in this modern day, you got to get information from different sources to sort of piece together what might be true by seeing where even opposing views have similar information, where there's some overlap, which means it might be some truth to it. It means that, guess what? You gotta do the research. You gotta go the extra mile. I mean, you gotta see the connections between people, organizations, and things. You need to see where these politicians getting their money from. You gotta see who went to school with who owned who, because most of the media is owned by 6 corporations. It might be even less now. So they are monitoring and basically controlling majority of the information that the American public is receiving, and they all have vested interests. And even when it comes to elites, they're not in agreement on everything. It's like a person told me, yeah, it's different mobs. And not in America, it's not just, he wasn't talking necessarily about the mafia. He was talking about different factions and groups of power. And so there are different mobs, and not all mobs, not all elites have the same interests. Now, some of their interests overlap, such as having more and more wealth, paying less and less taxes, having more and more power at the detriment of the American public. But they often have competing interests, so they don't always agree, and they don't always work together on everything, even though they most certainly and most definitely work together on certain things, such as some of the aforementioned things that I just mentioned. And so, like I said, we have to have and apply nuance. That means finding out, like I said, doing background information, getting information from different sources, opposing sources. Because the way they have it set up in modern day America, in the modern day United States is, and this is very intentional, deliberate, and very wicked is which is we as the American public, we are facing serious issues, but we can't even have, and this is by design, this is intentionally orchestrated, we cannot have honest conversations on anything because they make sure that you're not able to, because different people got different agendas, and they make sure that we don't even that hey, you either on this side or you're on that side. Now everything is nuanced. Life as a whole is about balance. What might be very applicable on one situation, that very same thing won't be applicable in another situation. Something that tends to be true majority of the time isn't true all of the times. And part of nuance is understanding the scenarios and the situations where something that's usually true isn't true. But whenever any of the important issues that we face, whether it's immigration, abortion, gun control, definitely anything that's for black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slavery. See, that's the one thing that America, all other Americans agree on, because we are this nation's bottom caste and tend to be its permanent underclass, and we as black people who have descended from freedmen, who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves, say hell no, over 400 years is long enough. But back to this thing about nuance. Like I said, it's very wicked the way that it's like we are not able to have the very nuanced discussions we need to have about these important issues, because it's like, take immigration, for example. Now, it's like the Democrats seem to be all in. I'm talking about the people in power in the Democratic Party, all in on immigration. Now, I'm not here to come for or against immigration. That's a whole different conversation. But if you just question the notion of immigration, you right-wing Republican. You pro-Trump, you pro this, you pro that. See, they got it, and they love it. It's gaslighting. And they love to do that with black people when we advocate for what we are owed and what we do. Hey, you this, you that. No. Like, and like I said, both the Republicans and the Democrats do it. But the Democrats seem to be more for outright censorship than the Republican side. I'm just calling it the way I see it, because that's the way it definitely seems to be. I mean, because the Democrats, they outright censored back when Biden was running for president. When his son got caught with the laptop in that whole scandal, they outright censored that story and had Twitter, Facebook, and other mainstream apparatuses censor that story. That's some North Korea type stuff. And now, when it comes to us, black people, like I said, this applies to everybody, but I'm talking specifically about us. Earlier, I referenced how Nuance is not the name of Beyonce's next child. But the reality of this, since we on the subject of nuance, the reality of the situation is that Beyonce is getting there past childbearing years, so she probably wasn't the best example. I mean, she's getting up there in age. Hell, I'm getting up there in age. Why do you think I reference her as opposed to some younger chick? But here's the thing: it's people out there that say, because we so crazed, and this is getting to the broader point related to nuances, because one of the things that America as a whole, but definitely us as black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves, we got to get out of this trance of celebrity and thinking that these people have our best interests at heart. Because even in terms of what I just said about Beyonce, you got people that's so fanatical and so crazy about a celebrity that don't give a damn about you. And hey, it ain't nothing personal. It is what it is. They say, oh, they get crazy just for me even mentioning that the lady's probably a little bit too old to be having kids. How dare you? Beyonce is a queen. How dare you say that she's too old to have babies? Beyonce, she can have kids at the age of 80 if she wants to. She's a queen. She can do whatever she wants to do. She's already made history before. She's going to make it again. Hell, she at 80 years old, she can have a geriatric baby. Hell, she might be the first person in history to have a biological child that's younger than her great grandkids. She's a history maker. And the same way, hell, even if she at the age of 80, she'll make history using being gay the same way she made history using wigs and hair weave. She's a trendsetter. How dare you talk about Beyonce? But see, that gets to the point that I wanted to make, which is that we as black people especially, we got to understand, and this is why we got to have nuance, that these celebrities, they are often, it's not what it was in the past when it came to us, when we actually had celebrities that actually fought for us, that actually was with us in terms of us getting what we got owed and what we got to do and what we needed as a people. This is a new era. This is a whole new situation. For one, celebrity is a distraction, but at the same time, they often send these celebrities to mislead us, to get us to be like sheep to the slaughter, to get us to vote blue no matter who. And I'm not saying vote Republican, but I'm saying we need to advocate for our interests and get fair exchange for our political capital, because we don't, when it comes to this Democrat, Republican thing, it ain't neither, oh, I ain't for neither one of them, because ain't neither one of them for us. We don't have no permanent allies. We only got permanent interests, and our permanent interest is the well-being of one another. Okay? But think about it. Going back to the celebrity thing, and like even now, you got celebrities that's out here promoting stuff that ain't in the best interest of us because they want to sheep herd us to vote without getting the fair exchange that we need for our vote. But their interests from a fight, they're in a whole different economic bracket than the most of us. They are not our class allies because they're in a different economic class. Our economic interests aren't the same as their economic interests. You got to have nuance, okay? And one of the things, and speaking about the lack of nuance, anytime it comes to us black people getting what we are owed, what we are due, the specificity that we need, that others are allowed to have, but that things get real funny and strange and weird when it comes to us, because that's what it means to be a designated bottom caste, intended to be permanent underclass. Like I said, one of the key things and this is being fostered by them damn near making it illegal for our history to even be taught, even though our history is American history. Black history, slavery, and everything that's happened to us is more American than apple pie. Because even though apple pie done made America a whole lot of money, it ain't made America as much money as slavery and the oppression of black people have descended from U.S. chattel slaves and come from the institution, descended from the institution of slavery. And the thing is, and this is where the lack of nuance comes into play. Us getting things that are, as black people, who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves, who have descended from freedmen, us getting the specificity that we need is what's best for America. Holler at us. We break it down how that's the case. But again, it's about people not seeing it in a nuanced way. It's about seeing it in a systematically and institutionally ingrained, short-term, fixated, narrow-minded, solely self-concerned, anti-black, non-history norm, racist against anything by default if it will benefit blacks who descended from U.S. chattel slavery, white supremacist mindset that you've been programmed to see things from here in the United States, including a lot of black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves. But anytime we black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves advocate for us and we challenge this dynamic and we say, hold on, it's not right, this is not cool, this is not what's best, this is a perpetuation of the over 400 years of subjugation, degradation, devastation, exploitation, aggravation, annihilation that you foisted upon us like no other group since our ancestors were brought over here and changed over 400 years ago in slave ships. When we talk that real stuff, we challenge any other narratives the popular narratives that they foster and prop up. Especially the Democrats who think they own us. Okay. They say, again, going back to the gaslighting, what I said about gaslighting, they say we anti this, we anti that. So they got it so black folks, the celebrities that I referenced earlier, included in this, especially them, they can't even speak the truth and are scared to speak the truth because the white supremacist power structure lets you know, Negro, we allowing you to be in this privileged spot where we exalt you a little bit above the rest of them. But guess what? If you say anything out of line, if you say anything that ain't pre-approved by us, if you say anything that we don't want you to say, Negro, you gonna go. And you see it time and time again, whether it's Whoopi Goldberg, Nick Cannon, whoever. If they ain't even got to be advocating for us. They ain't got to be challenging this white supremacist construct, but let them just say anything that ain't pre-approved by this white supremacist power structure, or they make an example out of them. We see it, and the other ones get in line. That's how you know that here in the 21st century, we as black people who have descended from U.S. chattel slaves are still an oppressed people, because when the ones of us who got the most money, who got the most fame, who supposedly got the most influence, who got the most power, which really puts into perspective what is power, because you might have $1 billion, but you ain't got no real power if you can't even speak your mind, if you can't even advocate for your people, if you can't even advocate for our ancestors and the legacy of our ancestors, which is us, for future generations. Matter of fact, not only can they not advocate for us, not only do they, like I said, if they even try to really challenge this white supremacist construct, they get made an example of and the other Negro, and they get in line. But the thing is, not only are they not allowed to speak their mind, they actually end up as I was saying, not only are these so-called celebrities, these so-called public figures, whether it be these figures on these sports channels or in the media, on the radio, whatever, they work for the mainstream media or the overall power structure. Not only are they not able to challenge power, not only do they not advocate for us, but many of them mislead us on behalf of massa. DDM, distract, deceive, mislead. That ain't under respect. That ain't freedom. What the hell is it worth having $1 billion if you got to do that? Okay, like I said, that's how, as I was saying earlier, that's how you know we're an oppressed people, when the ones who got the most money, the most fame, supposedly the most power, which ain't real power, ain't power in no way, shape, or form, are the ones that are most silent, the most scared, because they feel they got the most to lose. And it wasn't always like that with us. Back when we had more explicit state-sanctioned beat you in the head racism during the civil rights era, dogs getting sick on us, sprayed by water hose, our leaders being killed, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and like many others that people don't even know about. Back then, when it was outright separate and unequal, back then, we had celebrities that spoke out. Harry Belafonte, Lena Horne, Muhammad Ali, Dick Gregory, and yet we supposed to believe we've made progress, even though now, in a period that ain't as outwardly or explicitly as oppressive as back then, we have celebrities that's not a one advocates for us in the real way. Whereas when times was rougher, we had them. But the matter of the fact is, we can't count on these celebrities to do nothing but entertain us. A lot of them do a terrible job at that. But guess what? It ain't about them. It's about us. It's about we, the people. Because our mentality is, hey, if one of us eat, all of us eat. If one of us don't eat, none of us do eat. And them same brothers and sisters that think that they fine because, hey, I'm Massa done gave me a coveted spot, man. I'm a millionaire. I'm a billionaire. Massa exalted me. He got me exalted. I'm better than the rest of you Negroes. The minute that Massa put him in check, that's when they start, hey, look what the white man, hey, brothers and sisters, look what the white man did to me. You see what he done to me, man? This ain't right. Come on, brothers and sisters. Now, when you get in trouble, when Massa show you who really in charge, then you want to come running to us for support. But no, you didn't want to stand with us before, so don't ask us, don't stand with us after the fact. So yeah, Anthony Moore for your money more. Freedmen, Descendants of Chicago. We also go by Freedmen Chicago. Shout out to the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. We still advocating for the 1619 Rapid Relief Executive Order, which we are pushing our multi-billionaire Democrat governor to sign, who inherited all his money, J.B. Pritzker, who we call J.B. I wouldn't be governor without the black vote Pritzker. Click below for more information. Go to the description box. It has the link to the website. It's hardbeingblack.info, named after Pritzker's own words, where he was offering pandering versus policy. Also support us in promoting the Violence as a Health Crisis and Disease bill that we as an organization help get passed. And we also help craft treating violence as a disease that it is, doing something different, because insanity is doing something the same way, expecting different results. So we definitely need to do a lot of things differently. We expect in any way or shape or form to get different results, because what we've been doing ain't working. So let's do some things different. And shout out to Pastor Anthony Williams, whose brainchild the Violence as a Health Crisis bill was. He orchestrated it. He kicked it off, saw it through to the end, brung us along. and he's also running for U.S. Senate here in the state of Illinois. So I got an article about his campaign, link to below. Link, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, comment. Let's go.